Good morning, everyone. I'm at that 11 o'clock, so I'm going to make a start. And welcome to Menopause Awareness in the Workplace webinar. This is your team at Clover. We deal on a day-to-day basis with a lot of clients dealing with all their people issues, and just wanted to introduce the team to you. We are forever growing. We've got up to 32 HR business partners around the country. And if you need any help in the future, by all means, we're here if you need us. So with regards to, Clover recently received an ISO 9001 award as accreditation, which we're really proud of and we've worked hard for last year. This demonstrates our commitment and professionalism to our clients and the very high standard of compliance that we want to achieve. This is myself. I'm Lynn Berman. I've been in HR for 22 years now, and I'm an associate director at Clover, and love hosting these webinars for you guys to get more information, and hopefully it'll prompt a few questions and feedback afterwards. If there is any questions throughout, please put them in the chat. I'll try and get to them at the end. Alternatively, if you want to contact Clover or myself afterwards to ask any individual questions for your employer, then that's absolutely fine. And I have got a bit of a poll going as well, so we'll get some feedback from you in other sources as well. I will ask you to mute at the moment, purely so I can get through the content of today. And that would be great, but alternatively, you know, if you do have any questions or afterwards you want to talk to me about anything, you can do. So the content of today, it is a menopause in the workplace webinar. It's an awareness session. So I'm going to do a bit of an introduction into why we're doing it. What is menopause? What are the symptoms? What common symptoms of this? What should employers know about it? Got some example of case studies from employment tribunals that have already been conducted and give you a bit of history to that and explanation as to what's gone on and why. And what can employers do to support the menopause in the workplace, and then a bit of a summary at the end. So what I am going to ask straight away before I go on to any more information is a poll question, which will be really useful to see. So I'm going to launch the polls now. So I'm asking, what percentage of women experiencing menopausal symptoms say it has a negative impact on their work? Just to get an idea and time frame from you guys. Is it 25%, 50% or 60%? I'm also going to ask, have you or your employer started to talk about menopause at work? Yes, no, or just a little bit. I'm going to launch them now, and I'd ask you to have a go at doing those questions first while I go on to the next slide and just give you some more information. So it's increasingly important for employers to support employees going through menopause. So a recent government report on menopause found that menopause women are the fastest growing demographic and economically active group amounting to millions of people. So we really need to be aware of this as an employer. The Guardian, August 2021, reported that cases involving the menopause could be at the centre of the increasing number of UK tribunals. So in 2016, there was 5 employment tribunals referencing menopause claimants for menopause. 2020 was 16, and up to 2021, 10 in the first 6 months. So obviously we'll get the stats from that at a later date. The Women and Equalities Committee are looking at how well current legislation protects women from discrimination in the workplace associated with menopause. So it is a prevalent topic at the moment that we need to be aware of. And I'm just going to go back to the polls to see what the scores are. So if we look at the scores on the participants that have participated, we have what percentage of women experiencing menopausal symptoms say it's a negative impact, and that's 60% have said, 63% of you said 60%, which is correct. According to CIPD, 60% of women experiencing menopausal symptoms say it has a negative impact on their workplace. That is worrying. Have you or employers started to talk about menopause at work? And 26% of you have said yes. 21% have said no, and 53% a little. So it's on the increase. There's more yeses and little bits than no, and that's a good thing. I'm going to share the results with you there. So we can see it's an ever-growing topic and we need to be aware of it. Okay, so if we move on to what is menopause, and we really need to start answering this. So a natural stage in life when a person's periods stop. On average, menopause occurs between ages 40 and 60. Average age of reaching menopause is 51, and the symptoms can last between 4 years, but can be up to 12 years. So we really need to take note here. It's a long-term thing. Some might experience menopause earlier or go through surgical menopause, for instance, trans people. So surgical menopause can be complicated, and we need to look at that and supporting our staff through that. So trans people, intersex people, and those who identify as non-binary may need different support, but this should be evident through discussing it with them and their needs, and everyone obviously is individual. So every individual's experience is different. Equally, it may not be apparent or be experienced by who you would traditionally expect it to be experienced by. And it is important not to assume or dismiss anyone that says they're experiencing these symptoms, even though it wouldn't fit into the expectation of that gender or age. So in the same way, traditional disability may not be apparent or attributed to a certain type of person, we need to ensure that we don't assume and pigeonhole people. So as stated in the slide, symptoms can be experienced by trans people, intersex people, and those who identify as non-binary. And to ignore this raises risks that will be discussed later. And I will go through some case studies later with you. So what are the common symptoms? Hot flushes, night sweats, heart racing and palpitations, difficulty sleeping, changes in mood, tiredness, irritability, depression, anxiety, difficult concentrating, poor memory. Sometimes they get urinary problems such as recurrent UTI and loss of bladder. So it can in turn have a knock-on effect on behavioural symptoms such as confidence in skills and ability to do their job. The kind of paranoia of not being able to do a good job. These symptoms may not be obvious and not who we would traditionally expect it to be from. So we need to be aware of this. You can't see it at the moment, but I'm hoping they'll get to see it. So what should employers know? We need to look at what employers should know about this. Employers should be aware that there are certain risks associated with mismanagement of individuals affected by the menopause. So the skills and knowledge, we don't want to lose the skills and knowledge from the organisation. So due to a potential loss of confidence, and if working conditions are not appropriate, the employee may leave and take with them those skills and knowledge. Look forward. Sorry about that, technical issue. So having regular conversations with staff and listening to their concerns might help resolve issues early on before and any potential legal action taken from that. So we look at employers should make sure they know how the menopause relates to the law, including the Equality Act 2010, which obviously protects workers against discrimination. Health and Safety at Work Act, which says an employee must, where reasonably practical, ensure everyone's health, safety and welfare at work is looked after. The menopause is not specified protected characteristics under the Equality Act as yet, but if an employer or worker is put at a disadvantage and treated less favourably because of their menopause symptoms, this could be discrimination if related to a protected characteristic, for example, age, disability, gender reassignment, or sex discrimination. We need to look at the age discrimination. So employees and workers are protected from being put at a disadvantage or less favourable treatment because of their age. So when it comes to anything like this, we need to look at that. And obviously harassment and discrimination and harassment and victimisation in the workplace. Harmless jokes, workplace banter about topics such as hot flushes could be seen as victimisation or bullying on the basis of age, sex or disability. And unfair dismissal. Sorry about this. So yes, unfair dismissal claims. If dismissal of menopause employee not conducted fairly or properly investigated, this could obviously lead further and cause issues and potential claims in the future. So All dismissal should follow a fair process and properly investigated there. So I wanted to talk to you about a recent case, a related employment tribunal case, just to give you some background to something. So a claimant was dismissed for poor performance. She was suffering menopause symptoms, and the claimant's manager had disregarded company's management procedures in cases of health-related performance issues. The ET found this was unfair as he did not make further inquiries. Also found the employer that failure to involve occupational health and making these assumptions amounted to unlawful sex discrimination. The tribunal found the decision to dismiss the claimant was unfair due to the manager not doing this. And it obviously shows you that it has gone to the courts. This was in 2012, which was very early on, and we're more aware of it now. So hopefully we can start to do something about it. The claimant was suffering from menopausal symptoms which affected her performance at work. We really need to kind of keep an eye on this and make sure that we ensure this kind of thing doesn't happen again. Another tribunal case that came up was Bon Marsh, A versus Bon Marsh. So you'll see here, the claimant's manager would often demean and humiliate her in front of colleagues, joking that she was menopausal, and referred to her as a dinosaur and blamed mistakes she made on her menopause. The manager refused to make reasonable adjustments despite knowing of her condition. The claimant took sick leave due to anxiety and depression, and on return was told that she was pushing her luck when she asked for a break to take medication. The claimant felt that she had no option other than to resign. So the claimant successfully claimed direct age and sex discrimination and harassment, and was awarded £10,000 for loss of wages and £18,000 for injury to feeling. And this was in 2019. So what can employers do to support? Have a menopause policy in place. To help staff feel supported, it's a good idea to try and put this policy in place and communicate it to everyone. This will not only help see what the menopause is and how it can affect people, how it affects everyone differently, what support is available to staff affected by it. It could also explain what training is provided to managers, supervisors and team leaders, and explain who the organisation's point of contact is for queries related to the menopause. So we should ensure there's a champion within there that knows a lot about it, and show the organisation is open and trained to talk to and listen sensitively about the effects of the menopause. We need to include information on gender identity and gender reassignment discrimination, and how talking with staff about this is important. So even if there is a policy, employers should make some allowances when supporting staff through the menopause, because everyone's experience will be different. Managing sickness, absence and job performance, because the menopause is long term and it affects everyone differently. So managing absence from work should be handled sensitively, and this shouldn't, obviously you can see the years that it can be experienced for, it's quite a long-term effect. So employers should keep talking with their staff and be prepared to make changes to help staff continue to work, take into consideration any performance issues which might be because of the menopausal symptoms. And it's a good idea for employers to talk to staff about any reasonable adjustments that could help them do their job. So staff should also be given a reasonable amount of time to adjust to any of these changes made. When someone is off sick because of the menopause, the employer should record these absences separately from other absences. This is because there may be times when it could be unfair or discriminatory to measure menopause-related absences as part of the person's overall attendance record. Again, shouldn't be ignored, but it needs to be monitored regularly and accurately. So it's also good practice for an employer to allow staff to go to medical appointments related to the menopause. There's no law for this type of time off, but employees and workers might have a right to paid or unpaid time off written in their employment contracts for these kind of things. Employers must not discriminate, though, against someone because of their menopausal symptoms, and that's the main thing we really need to stress here. It might be agreed that the employer can make a change at work due to someone's going through the menopause, and this might be a reasonable adjustment that we need to make. And certainly on the health and safety checks, by law, employees are responsible for health and safety within the workplace, including home workers. So conduct risk assessments and workplace assessments to check that everything is okay. We need to make sure changes being flexible where possible over start and finish times, and also allowing them to take breaks when needed, providing a private area when they can rest to help manage their symptoms, and allowing them to work from home when practical, if it is practical within your organisation. Allowing them time off if they cannot carry on working that day. Again, this needs to be looked at carefully, this needs to be measured and monitored, but changing certain duties in their roles might help as well. And when appropriate, letting the person have control over their working environment. For example, a desk next to a window that opens or providing them with a fan. Someone believes a longer term change to their job would help them with menopausal symptoms. This could be in the form of a flexible working request. So employers should make sure managers are objective and knowledgeable in discussing, considering and agreeing any changes with staff. Changes should be agreed in writing, and managers should have follow-up conversations with their staff to make sure the changes are working for both them and the employer. So you could put it on a temporary contract change amendment at first, review it after 3 months and see how it's gone. The frequency of follow-up conversations might differ from person to person, depending on how their symptoms and needs change. So it's important to remember that the changes agreed at work might need to be reviewed as the person goes through different stages of the menopause. We need to train managers, so employees should make sure they get their training for the managers on talking about the menopause, know how to have conversations with all staff, know what support is available to women, trans and intersex people going through the menopause, and understand their role when it comes to offering support to staff. So we need to understand any organisational policies related to the menopause, know how the menopause relates to the law and discrimination, and know that the menopause can affect everyone differently and that the support needed can vary from person to person and individuals. So managers should also be encouraged to talk about the menopause with all their staff alongside other equality and diverse topics and the health and wellbeing topics to normalise this topic. It shouldn't be a taboo subject. So individual conversations with staff affected by the menopause should always be confidential and held in private, where both the manager and staff are comfortable and not disturbed. So if agreed with a staff member, someone from HR, a trade union representative or a menopause wellbeing champion could also attend the meeting to offer support. The manager should always allow the staff member to decide how much information they wish to disclose in this meeting. So ask general questions, but let the staff member lead that conversation. Do not ask them if they want to talk about the menopause or suggest what symptoms they might be experiencing. They might not want to divulge this to you. Don't make any assumptions about the person's symptoms, and you should consider any needs they have. So the manager should respect the person's wishes for privacy and obviously not disclose any information to other colleagues without their permission. If someone wants information about their menopause symptoms to be shared, the manager should let them decide. Know what they want and do not want their colleagues to know, who will be told and who will do the telling. It might be helpful to keep a written record of what has been agreed about confidentiality and the sharing of this information, just so you've got it as an audit trail to go back on if anything was discussed later down the line. So why people might not talk about the menopause symptoms? People feel it's a private or a personal matter, feel their symptoms might be embarrassing to share for them and with others. They don't want their managers to know, their line manager, they don't know their manager well enough in order to share this information with them. They're not sure whether the manager will be sympathetic, so feel they'll be taken seriously on this, or they're worried about their confidentiality by disclosing this information. They need to think they don't want to be seen less favourable in their job, and obviously are worried about job security or promotion opportunities that might be taken away. So make sure you try and alleviate this within any conversations. Employees should also listen to people's experiences and remember that the menopause may affect different people in different ways throughout their lives. So you have to look at each individual case. If staff affected by the menopause want to, employees should give them the option to talk to someone other than the manager. So this might again be a champion. This would help staff that might not be comfortable with approaching their line manager first to talk about the wellbeing. The employee should make sure this person has all the necessary knowledge and training to deal with conversations about the menopause. And this could be, for example, a member of HR, a counsellor from the organisation's EAP programme, employee assistance programme, or a menopausal wellbeing champion. So managers should also be involved in agreeing any changes if the person has an initial conversation with this person, so we know upfront what they've asked for. It might not be always obvious who is experiencing these symptoms, and it's important for employees to remember that a large number of people can experience symptoms, including, obviously, as I've said earlier, the list of trans or binary intersex people, or non-binary, sorry. So employers should support everyone equally and keep conversations private and confidential. So in summary, the topic of menopause is becoming more and more important, and we need to make sure that all of our employers are open and honest. The economic demographics changing, raising the need to support this issue. There are risks to not raising awareness in the workplace, and you don't want to lose good staff. And there are ways to support, an employer can support people who are going through this. So if anyone would like some help and support pulling together a menopause policy, do not hesitate to contact myself after today or the Clover helpline, and we can help provide you with a template as a thank you for listening today. So I'm just going to have a look at any questions, which I feel we have one. So I've been asked, is it not dangerous to try and separate absences? Would it not be unfair to make such adjustments for menopause and not record it as an absence against, say, other reasons, flu, sickness, etc.? Isn't absence just absence? The more we try and differentiate what is real and unreal absence, the harder it gets. In support of that question, it's about differentiating what the absence is. So if someone was having a long-term back issue again and again and again, you would record it as a back issue and treat it in that vein. So you might need to change the workplace workstation or anything. So it's about monitoring what the absence is, not that it's not an absence. It's about trying to see what it is, do something about it, and make adjustments around that issue. Just go back and see if there's any other questions. So just to give you a bit of a summary really on Clover. So we recently did a client satisfaction survey last year. I just wanted to share it with you really because we are proud of it, the fact that our clients described the communication between their business and Clover HR as excellent or good by 100%. 100% of our clients would rate our speed of response as excellent or good, and 99% would rate our services as good value for money. Just noticed a quick question come through. My work does not have a policy. I'm not comfortable asking for one. How should I approach it? I think this is something I'd want, you do probably need to talk to your HR function, line manager, or about to see if it can be something that can be looked into. I understand it is a topic that a lot don't want to discuss, and I think it's important to raise that awareness. And again, if you want to contact me after today for more information or how I can help in any way with your workplace, I'm more than happy to help. So that's my details, and that's my phone number, email address. Have a look at our website. This will be on the website live, so you can watch it back if you wanted to share the link with anyone. And again, thank you for listening today, and I hope you found it really useful. Thank you.